recognise that riff. A friend of mine, well, let me go back to the beginning. I've been a professional musician since around 1960. I was doing a couple of gigs a week when I was 14 years old and supposedly doing my homework from school, but I flunked out of that. 1964, I was totally full-time and started that off when I was just 18 years old by playing at the Top 10 Club in Hamburg, not too long after the Beatles were there, just after they were having their first hit singles, you know. I'll come back to that later, but a friend of mine, we were talking the other day, reminiscing about the old days, and I was telling him about some of the old stories. He's much younger, he's a professional musician, but he's much younger than me, and was not part of the 60s scene. So he said some of the stories I was telling him, you know, he said, oh, you should write all this stuff down. Well, I can't really see myself taking the time to write a book, so in case a few of you out there, and my family and friends included, you know, might just like to hear some of this stuff, here goes. I'd also like to say this is not a name dropping or ego trip exercise for me, okay? There's nothing glamorous about the music business, I can assure you. Especially if you're just a working musician like myself, you just want to pay the bills and eat, and that's not easy. So anyway, as you've seen from the title, this is about the time when I met Richie Blackmore. Now the very first time I saw Richie play, I was in a, well, if you cast your mind back, it's completely different in around 1960, 64, 5-ish. It was totally different then. There were no big stadium gigs. There were just town halls everywhere up and down the country. And there was a dance at every town hall and even every village hall in the country then. No one had computer games, nothing like that, no distractions. We didn't stay in with our parents and watch the black and white TV. So all these dances and village halls, town halls, they're all packed. And people who were having top 10 hits were still playing dance halls. That was the gigs. That was what you did, you know. So in that context, you'll understand what I'm talking about now. Well, every time a name band or a semi-name band or whatever played in a town hall, King's Lynn in Norfolk was the main thing, and most of the biggest hall was the Corn Exchange. Whenever there was a name band on, or even a band from London, just because they came from London, they were something special supposedly, they always had a local band or two to play the support acts. So therefore, I have played in the support band for lots of top name people, you know. Played in the rock and roll legend Gene Vincent, you know. Anyway, lots of others. So, the first time I saw Jimmy Page was at Wisbech Corn Exchange. Not Jimmy Page, what am I talking about? I did see Jimmy Page too, actually. At Lynn Corn Exchange. I was in the support band, and I think he was around 18 years old, and he was playing with a band called Neil Christian and the Crusaders. And he was a knockout too. Bearing in mind that very few people could play that well in those days. Everyone was feeling their way. It was a trial and error from the 1950s upwards, and people have gotten, there are lots of brilliant guitar players, unknown guitar players around now. But in those days, people like Jimmy Page and Richie Blackmore really, really stood out big time, you know? So, back to Richie. Wisbech Corn Exchange, we were support act to Screaming Lord Sutch and the Savages at Wisbech Corn Exchange. Carlo Little on drums, Rick Fenson on bass, Richie Blackmore on guitar, and playing his cherry red Gibson 335 at the time. When they opened up with a kind of the old Lucille riff kind of thing like that, even though the amps and that were not as powerful those days and all that kind of stuff, the impact was immediate. It was fantastic. And I was just absolutely blown away by Richie's playing then. And so that was another gig. The next time I saw him was at King's Lynn Corn Exchange when we were the support act to Mick Underwood, the drummer, with the Outlaws, with Richie Blackmore on lead guitar. And they were actually backing Gene Vincent. So we were the support act there, and that's the second time I saw Richie play. Had a brief conversation with him in the dressing room, because the entire time that he was not on stage, he was in the dressing room practicing and playing his guitar. So, and at the time he was aiming to be the fastest guitar player in the world, you know. When I saw him with Lord Sutch, and actually when I saw Jimmy Page, the party piece of the lead guitar players then, I saw them both play, was a sort of a classical-ish tune called Zardas. It's spelt C-Z-A-D-A-R-S, something like that. It's a violin piece. If you check it out on YouTube, there are loads of versions, and you can see the speed and the technique that's required to play this piece. And I've seen Jimmy Page and Richie play this piece way, way back then, when they were probably both still teenagers. Anyway, the most memorable occasion when I met him was that it would be in 1965, because I played at the Top 10 Club in Hamburg. You did a 1 month residency at each time. And I did 1 month on 4 separate occasions. Once in November 1964, and then 3 more times throughout 1965. And this is the crazy thing. I'd never forgotten being blown away by seeing him play the first time. So anyway, he'd always been the top man as far as I was concerned. We were playing in the Top 10 Club, and I played bass in the bands at that time. I also played guitar, but I was a bass player in lots of the bands. I was standing on the left-hand side of the stage, and the stage is only about 2 feet high, you know. And I was standing on the left-hand side of the stage, and we finished a song, and I just looked down to the left, and this girl looked up at me and said, "Can Richie play guitar with you?" And I looked down, and there's this guy with a guitar case, and I thought, shit, it's Richie Blackmore. I said, "You are joking, of course he bloody well can," you know. Anyway, so he came up, he played with us for the rest of that night, and apparently I think he'd come over to Germany to join an ex-Lord Sutch Savage's band member on some deal or another, and it'd all fallen through. And at the time, even though he was a fantastic guitar player, we were all at the time just trying to scratch a living, you know. And Richie's first wife, as people will know, was a Hamburg girl, so it was obviously her. And he played with us the rest of the night, and we split a little bit of money with him. And he came back again and again, and he continued to play with us for a whole month. And that's just crazy things that happened at the time. He told me at the time that he had an idea to have a 3-piece band called the Three Musketeers, and he asked me to play bass with him. And I don't know, after that things went kind of pear-shaped with the band we was in, and myself and the singer had just enough money to make it home. So we all parted our separate ways, and that was it. So there you have it, just one of the tales from an old 60s musician. There are lots more. I'll make another video about telling you exactly what it was like to play at the Top 10 Club Hamburg, which was tremendously hard work, but also terrific fun. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this old story. An old man just rambling on, but that's it. Talk to you later.